Behind me, I built two circular saw crosscut stations that I can use to make straighter cuts. Now why two? Well, let me show you.
Being the extra meticulous planner that I am, I did not measure how far down my saw cuts. It means that a lot of my boards can't get cut. So let's build this crosscut station to fix this problem once and for all. I have a spare bedroom at my place I'm going to be using to do all my cuts. Because right now outside it's minus 10 degrees and that doesn't really go well with me. The size of my MDF board is 2 by 4 feet, which you can find at most hardware stores. To make my first cuts, I'm actually using a straight edge from Craig so I can get the first cut as straight as possible. I did have plans I made out for this build, so I'll be following these along the line just to make sure I don't make the wrong measurements again. I first start off by tracing 3 inches off the edge, and this is going to be the factory edge I'm going to use to make my straight edge. Once I have everything measured, I'm clamping down this edge here and then putting some tape over the electric outlet and then making my first cut. Now I have to remember which side is the factory edge just so I can have it right against the base plate of the circular saw. Now I have to cut off an 8-inch piece, which my base plate of my saw is going to ride against the straight edge. And I'm now gluing up the factory straight edge to this base plate, making sure that I have the arrow side facing inward, then throwing down some clamps and making sure that they're all getting a nice glue squeeze out. And once I verify that glue squeeze out is good enough, then I'm ready to move on to the next step. And if you have any suggestions on a good shop vac, let me know because I'm desperately needing one. A couple of hours has passed by right now and the glue seems to be dry. So what I'm going to do now is just drill in some screws into my base just to make sure that everything's locked in place. Even though I glued it, it still should be fine without the screws, but I like to take precautions. To finish this piece off, I just have to run the base plate of the saw along the straight edge. And then once I measure everything out to make sure everything's the same width, I finally have a straight edge that I can now use to make a whole bunch of straighter cuts. Now we're going to get started on the box for this build. Now with my new straight edge piece, what I have to do is cut off 2 1-inch strips, 2 2-inch strips, and then 1 large cut of 26.5 inches, and then I'm left with all the parts I need to make the box for the straight edge. My original design had the straight edge at the end of the box, but I think I'm going to switch it up for this build. I'm going to start by gluing the rails for this. This is just combining the 2 1-inch pieces together, and then putting a whole bunch of clamps to make sure it stays nice and sturdy. Next, I have to put the sides of the clamps there, and if anyone has any tricks on how to get a perfect 90-degree angle, let me know, because it took a while to get it. Fortunately, I only got 89 degrees, but it shouldn't be that bad. And when all the glue is dried up, I can finally take the clamps up, and then put the straight edge down to the box base. A little bit of glue here, and a little bit of glue on the other side. Then I can put this down where it needs to be. Checking one more time to make sure I have the same distance on both sides. Clamp it down and then get rid of any excess glue that's on the sides there. And a couple hours later, I finally have a crosscut station built out. I do like the look of this better than my old one, so hopefully it gets a lot of use. Now we just gotta do the cut to cut into the walls of the crosscut sled. And lastly, it's time to cut my first piece of wood. Now I cut this poplar right above my pencil line just to see how straight this line is, and as you can tell, I cannot see a difference on it, so it's probably maybe off by 1/64 of an inch, or maybe even 1/28 of an inch. And it's definitely a better improvement compared to my last pieces I tried to cut.
So there you have it, it's the brand new crosscut sled. I'm curious to see how long it's gonna last since it is made with MDF and they might split a bit at the edge. But for right now, it's gonna get the job done making a whole bunch of cuts. And again, let me know if you're interested in the plans I made for this. I can share the measurements I use, but for everyone's circular saw it might be different. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.